Hi, I'm Michael Monasterial, and I am the intern minister, one of the intern ministers at the Unity of Palm Beaches with Reverend Taylor Stevens. And I do these talks every week. I've been on a series about things you're not supposed to talk about, but I think this week I'm going to divert a little bit. I think I'm going to change lanes because Unity was a dynamic movement and radical for its time for Christians to be metaphysicians, to see the world and the Bible through a metaphysical lens. So a lot of the teachings, people were flocked to it for that reason. It was different, it was new, but what it was also, it was powerful. You know, if you have a specific level of faith, it doesn't really matter what church you go to, what religion you're in either. If you're that kind of person, you'll still get the same results. In a way, like they used to say, all roads lead to Rome. You know, all spiritual paths lead to spirituality. You know, it depends on your personal commitment and your personal relationship with God, whatever you call Him, or however you talk to God, or if it's Jesus, whatever it is that you profess to believe in. If you profess it with might, if you profess with your total being, you will get the same results. This message resonated with me because I was a Catholic and then I was a Baptist. You know, I even went to Lutheran church and I've been to Pentecostal churches. I mean, I was seeking this message because I thought I understood the idea of Christ and the message, but I couldn't internalize it. And some of the things they were saying didn't make sense through my mind. And people say, no, you don't have enough faith. That's why you don't believe, you know, all the doctrine and stuff they have. A lot of it is, you know, it's out there when you look at it on the physical realm. So when metaphysics was presented to me, I was like, oh my gosh, Eureka. I found it. I found the message to really change my life and to change my relationship with my indwelling God, with universal mind. It became an intimate relationship. I used to think it was intimate because I prayed all the time. I would pray, God, get me out of this, or God, thank you for this. I thought I was intimate, but I wasn't intimate because I was praying up there. I was praying out there, you know, instead of praying in here, which is more intimate and it's more powerful. So the name of this talk is "This Stuff Works." And what I want to do is I have three topics, because I want to tell you my own journey, and then I want to tell you how the metaphysical journey, your journey to find God and see God, right, beyond the physical realm and internalize it. It's not new, and it's not just Christians. It's something that's been out there as long as there's been man. Somebody has said, hey, you know, why would we pray up when we can pray in? And many cultures believe in that. And I didn't really get it because I wasn't introduced to that. But now that I am, I completely embrace it. And so that's the last part. But the first part, we'll talk about me. I'll just tell you, you know, about myself. Some people know me, but I'll be clear. What drew me to the Unity message initially, I'd been working for a company 18 months, a friend of mine, and I came down from New York to stay at this beautiful mansion, work on this expensive job, and it was the middle of winter when I came, and it was very attractive. Like, well, this is great, you know. And ever since the drive to come down here, I was going through a transition I didn't realize. I was really going through a change. Because when I got there, it was like, you know, it was like a party, and it was like, what a cool place to go, and I can go, you know, eat on the water here after work, and, you know, I can meet people, new people. It was like, you know, it was a little adventure. But I always felt that there was something gnawing inside of me. It was very subtle in the beginning. And then some fantastic things happened to me that year. You know, my skill set expanded. I got to do some things I didn't get a chance to do. You know, and the money was constant, and money was really good. I got to do some things with my kids and vacations, and a lot of things I didn't get to do. You know, so on the outside of my life, I lost some weight. On the outside of my life looked fantastic. But on the inside, it was this gnawing feeling of dissatisfaction, I'll say. And I didn't know that I was just being, you know, when things are good, you want, you know, I work for some millionaire, and he'll complain that his, you know, shower is 2 degrees too hot, or you know, his oatmeal is too cold, or something, and that'll ruin his day, and he'll go into a rage. It wasn't that question of being so pampered that stuff bothered me, because I was never into that physical comfort anyway. Even when I lived there, I was mostly on the job anyway, 7 days a week. That never bothered me. I just felt a longing, is what I felt. And I had not been to church in years at that point. Years. And when I did go, the last few times I went, it was out of form, you know, just because, you know, I know some reverends, I know some clergy members, I have friends, you know, they have events, you know, weddings, things like that. So I went, but I wasn't engaged. I even went to my daughter's father. My daughter's stepfather is a minister in the Bronx. They have a big church, and you know they're apostolic. It's really Holy Spirit. And when I went, you know, I was looking forward to the experience. It'd been years since I'd been there, and so when I went, it left the same feeling. I would go to the service and feel good there, but as soon as I drove away, I would get that emptiness inside, which there can't be. You know, if God's always with us, why am I empty 45 minutes after the service? So, New Year's came around. And New Year's came out, and like I said, I had a good year. And I got to give my kids great presents, and I took them to Seattle, went on a big vacation. I saw my mom. On the outside, everything was fantastic. But on the inside, it was getting worse. Like I just couldn't run away from this feeling. And I drove to a friend's house in Pennsylvania. But you know, I was going to spend New Year's there, and they were going to hang out and you know have festivities and stuff. And I just felt so empty that morning that instead of staying there, I drove all the way to the city because I was staying just right outside New York. That's where my apartment was, and I went to a service. I went to a midnight service, and at that midnight service, I was just feeling so. I was longing for that connection with God so badly at that point. I felt, and it was clear at that point at New Year's, what I was looking for and what I prayed for. And I prayed for stuff with my might, with all my might. And I prayed for a partner, a wife, because, you know, I'm terrible at picking wives. And I wasn't successful at it. And girlfriends I thought were going to be wives, relationships were terrible in the end. I'm just not good at it. So I said, okay, God, you pick the person for me. You know, and I'm going to go with your choice because you see things. You know, you can see the whole person, the whole picture, and sometimes I can't. And the other thing was I needed to find a church. I needed to find a path because one I was on wasn't working. And although, like I said, everything was great on the outside, just inside there was a problem. So a few days later, I meet my wife, and we went on a date. It was fantastic. I was so into her, and then she said, "Do you want to come to church with me?" And I said, "Yes." This was the new year. My thing was, if the universe spoke to me, if God spoke to me in some way, I'm going to say yes. And I committed myself to that. So we went, and I sat in the service, and I'm telling you, the unity message, the idea that we're all connected inside. You know, Reverend Keller was talking about that today. How we're all connected, every single person, whether you love them or not, whether you like them or not, whether you believe in their politics or not, we are the same. We're connected from the same spirit. The same spirit is in all of us. And I love that message. And there was no devil in it. So there was no evil. There was no devil to blame on stuff. You know, we had no out to say, oh, well, you know, that was terrible. The devil, whatever, was involved. There's no devil involved. You have base enough nature inside you. We have enough stuff inside of us to do terrible things to other people. We don't need a guy with a ponytail to help us, I believe. And the idea there's no sin. I mean, you can miss the mark, but it doesn't have to be. It doesn't damn you. Nothing really damns you except yourself. And that message, God, it gave me such hope. And I just and the spirit to preach came back to me. And since that time, my finances are amazingly better. My emotional state is amazingly better. My health is amazingly better. I have chronic arthritis. They told me I wouldn't swing a hammer again. I should not be able to work the way I work. And I outwork the young guys. You know, I have an amazing wife, an amazing home. You know, my life, I have an amazing church. I'm on the path to become a minister. These things, if you ask me that New Year's Eve, if my life would look like this, I would think you were kidding. I wouldn't believe you. I would have said, you know, not me. Maybe there was a time it could have happened to me in my 30s or something. But at this age, I did not believe it was possible. But I did know that I was going to find the answer. I was drawn to the answer. And later on, I'll tell you that other mystics have said that during their lifetime and in their ministries, that's a real thing. That God creates the longing for God in you. That spiritual hole that we all have can only be filled with spiritual things. And so we have an inborn drive, an inborn hunger that even when people suppress it, it's still there. And people, to me, they settle for an outward experience. You know, it's good to be in church and sing loud and clap and on and be a family there. And it's a great experience, and I know I'll never knock it. But for me, if it's not an intimate relationship, if it's not a healing, loving relationship, not damning, not judging, if it's not, I can't use it because I have so much guilt inbred to me from so many years. I have so much guilt and self-hate even, you know, that damning myself is so easy that it blocks the connection with God. And that's what it really does. In fact, the metaphysical movement is like therapy. I never went to therapy, but people I know that have gone to therapy say, man, you could really use some therapy. But the background I came from, you know, we were low middle class. I mean, no one went. You went to the bar. You didn't go to therapy. You went to the bar. You know, you I don't know. You beat your kids up. Whatever they do, you know, they beat each other up. Go fight in the streets. Whatever way to get that feeling out of you, you did. But it wasn't talking to someone about your feelings for sure. In fact, it was frowned upon for men to talk about their feelings. In the background I came up with is very Latin and traditional. So, having found this, I don't think that I hear it enough, you know, in the Unity messages, and I study and I listen to it. And in the early days, you know, some of these claims they were making were fantastical. They were so over the top. It's like, oh, if you have cancer, we can give you affirmations, you know, and make you pray and you'll get rid of your cancer. Or if you're impoverished, you know, if you get this message, you will come out of poverty. I mean, they had such fantastic goals, lofty goals. I don't really know how many worked or didn't work, but I know the movement was on fire and it grew very fast, and it grew from, you know, a husband and wife to a small prayer group to like an international church. I mean, gosh, the thing is that they tapped in the power, I think, and I think that to revive a movement that I think every single person should get this movement. It is life-changing. It is, if you take on the Unity principles, you live by them, and the laws they have, you know, that guide our behavior and explain the universe, there is no comparison. My life now and then what it was. That's the point. This stuff does work. If it doesn't work, I wouldn't do it. I'm not crazy. I'm not stupid. I mean, nobody is. In fact, when you go to Unity service, there are so many people with higher education, with degrees. It's one of the most educated crowds I've ever been in. I mean, these really super smart, educated people were looking for a way to relate with God and connect with God in an intimate level. And they found it in this message. Whether the message is what it used to be, all that stuff is inconsequential. The real important thing is that if you can find a way to get it, it's worth it. It's so worth it. You know, you have a politician you're watching on TV, you don't like them, whatever they are, red and blue. You connect with them. You pray for them. You spread them, send them love and light, even if you don't believe in them. You acknowledge their connection with every human being, no matter what. And it works. Gosh, it eases the anger, it eases the frustration, it turns your blood pressure down. I mean, I could go on, there's so many things. I could go on for another 25, 30 minutes, just tell you all the changes that have happened in my life on the small level and on the big level. But that's not what this really is. If I'm spreading a message, I want to stay on point. So other enlightened beings, other enlightened human beings that have connected with the Christ, we say, the Christ within, that found the way, did it by looking in. And it seems counterintuitive. And yet, for me, I was one of those go-getter types, to get things in life, you have to do this, and sacrifice you have to make, and, it's only you out there, no one's going to save you, you have to pick yourself up by your bootstraps and really hit it. I was in the army, and I was a wrestler. I mean, that my whole life was overcoming my own feeling of limitation. So when I read this inspired teaching, I really believe that idea of tapping your innate power. You don't just connect with God, you untap the power of God within you. So suddenly, if you, through prayer and meditation in this way, ideas come to you to change your career. Ideas come to you to change your relationships. Ideas just come to you because you stay quiet enough to listen to them. It's amazing. It's amazing in that way. I believe I can become rich in this thing. If it's not really my goal, I'd be happy to get out of debt. But, which is happening. But the idea is only limited by my limitation, which is the point. And that's what I was alluding to when it comes to therapy. And when you have emotional issues, they change your vision of the world. They change the picture of the world that you see. So you can't see the world in any other way. So that's why you need therapy. So you can interpret those feelings to see the world and yourself in a better way. And that's what unity does. That's what this prayer meditation does. It gives you a new lens to look at the world, a wider lens. It gives you a wider scope on all the levels of reality that exist that you don't see. And by picturing these things, these wonderful things within you, which are within you, which are made by the manufacturer, which God gave you, they're already there. With seeing these things and seeing the world that you want internally, but really seeing it and feeling it emotionally and seeing it, it changes your entire outside world. Like what people say after they've been through years of therapy. Like, after my therapist, after whatever, they say 10 years of therapy, I'm a different person. And they start describing it. And I start saying, wow, I got it in like less than 2 years in a Unity program, and I didn't have to pay for it. Really, it was me just accepting the flaws in myself. Taylor always says that we have to look at the black and blue. We have to look at the scars as well as the joys, and me accepting myself wholly and loving myself wholly for all of me, warts and all, and accepting for who I am, and then respecting the innate power of God within me to transform my life. I stopped even asking for stuff. Now I just pray and meditate, and the ideas come to me, and things get fixed. Things I deep down wanted, but I stopped asking them. I started asking for them. It stopped being about me, give me, help me like this, and it started being more, thank you for the connection, quietly connecting, quieting everything, because that's where the voice of God is, that inner still voice they say. It's so real. It's so true. So I'm going to do a couple of references, which is one of the points of this whole thing, about this stuff works. And this is from Rumi. And I only met Rumi intellectually. I met him through Eric Butterworth. He quotes him often. In a sense, he's not a metaphysician. He's a teacher. Sikhs and Hindus follow him and all, but it's metaphysics when you hear it. Anyway, Rumi says, when I run after what I think I want, my days are a furnace of stress and anxiety. If I sit in my own place of patience, what need flows to me? What I need flows to me, and without pain. And from this, I understand what I want also wants me. Let's see that one again. What I want also wants me. Mind blowing. It is looking for me and attracting me. There is a great secret here for anyone who can grasp it. The world is but a reflection of your inner state. And when you find peace within, you see it manifest without. That's the beauty. Once I see love, and I see joy, and I see hope, and I see prosperity, or I see people as their God beings, suddenly they become that to me. So it changes my reality. It's so simple, but it's so powerful. That's really all I want to do. Like a big thank you to the Unity movement. That's what this talks about. Anyway, I love you guys, and we'll talk next time.